Today, I thought I would share with you some of my best thrifting tips while taking you along to do a little bit of thrift shopping for some home decor pieces and a little bit of DIY upcycling. Compile a wish list. Now, sometimes it's good to just go in and see what your eyes see. But if you don't want to end up with just a whole bunch of pieces sitting around waiting to be upcycled, have at least an idea of the items you want for your home and that you need to be looking for. Hunt, don't shop. By that, I mean when you go in, let your eyes scan over the shelves and visually remove all of those items that you either don't need or are tacky, whatever. Carefully selecting out those items that you're looking for and that with a little bit of an upcycle will work perfectly in your home.
For this first DIY, we're going to work on this tall metal vase that we found at the thrift store. Now, I am not a fan of the color. I'm also not a fan of this flower engraved motif around the top, but I do love the shape. I love the opening at the top, and I know exactly where I want this to go. It is the perfect height and width for the space that I'm thinking of. Now, it also came with all of these branches, but we're just going to remove these and set them aside. Maybe we'll use them later on, maybe not, we'll see. Next, I vacuumed out the inside of the vase to get out any of the gunk at the bottom, and then gave it all a nice wipe down on the outside and the top part of the vase so that I was working with a clean surface. Since this is going to be a decor piece that's going to be inside the house, I decided just to go in with my simple baking soda faux pottery technique again. So that's just going to be baking soda mixed with some either white acrylic paint or white chalk paint until you get a consistency that is similar to slightly melted soft serve ice cream. Now we're going to be doing a technique that I actually used in a video not that long ago. The original idea was inspired by rural refurb, and I've just sort of taken that idea and run with it. If you'd like to see that original video, I will link it here above. Now you're going to want to work in smaller sections, applying your baking soda paint to your item, or in this case vase, and then going in with different spices from your kitchen. So I have selected garam masala, cumin, chili flakes. I also used a little bit of sage and some roasted red pepper flakes. I'm also going to use some soil that I grabbed out of my Miracle Grow bag. I know some people might not like this idea, so then just skip it. You don't have to do it, because instead what you could use is coffee granules, which I also applied to this DIY. So just dried or even wet coffee granules, and you just sprinkle them on top and pat all these spices into your baking soda mixture. I cannot even begin to tell you how therapeutic this is. And I'm pretty sure that the final results are going to absolutely amaze you. Continue to work in small patches, mixing together the different spices and a little bit more of that baking soda paint. And you know what? Have fun with this. Don't be afraid to get a little bit messy, and definitely don't be afraid to get a little bit creative. If you find you go a little heavy on the spices in some area and you want to light it up a bit, just use a little bit more of that baking soda paint and just keep working back and forth with the spices, the coffee granules, and the baking soda paint until you get the exact look you want. Once you've achieved that, let it dry for a couple of days. Lastly, grab yourself a nice fluffy paintbrush and just give that whole thing a light swipe, getting off any of the spare bits of herbs, and there you have it. A beautiful faux stone vase. I just love the way this turned out, but tell me what you think in the comments below.
Take measurements. I like to take this little handy dandy measuring tape with me to the thrift store and measurements of the space available in my home. That way I can measure the piece in the thrift store and decide whether or not it's actually going to work. Always take your smartphone. On your smartphone, you can keep your Pinterest, and that way you can keep record of the things that you're looking to find. You can search up the prices of items. You can search up inspirational ideas. You can keep a log of the things that you're looking for, plus the measurements. Trust me, if you're shopping for home decor at the thrift store, you're going to want to have your smartphone on you.
Okay, this is a perfect example of why you don't judge a book by its cover, why you always expect the unexpected, and why when it comes to thrift flipping, you go with the flow. So I had this whole plan. I was going to wipe off the candlesticks, get them ready for videos, and when I was doing it, the outside coating started to come off. I didn't even know there was an outside coating on these. This was obviously a DIY gone wrong. It turns out they're not swamp green. They're originally the green glass that I love and already have a candlestick identical to this one. In fact, I found someone asking for over $120 for these exact same candlesticks online. That just about blew me away. And like I said, I hated that swamp green color it had on it. So I was originally planning on showing you a DIY faux stone painting technique for this, but honestly, I don't want to touch this now. I love these, and I can't believe that I ended up with 3 of the exact same green glass candlesticks. I collect green glass, and this was definitely a score.
Bring your design samples along with you. That way you can check to make sure you've got the right color, texture, wood tone, whatever it is. Bring them along. Keep them. You can just get a little handy file cabinet. I've seen them at the dollar store. Tiny little pockets with different dividers. You could do it for all the different rooms if you wanted to. And then just slide in your samples. That way you can just put it in your purse, take it along with you, pull it out when you need to double check. Take pictures of your space. This is also where the smartphone comes in handy. So take the pictures of your space, know what colors you're working with, what space you're working with, what other elements are going on around the spot in the room. Take your pictures. If you take your pictures and leave them in your smartphone when you're at the thrift store, it's just as easy as pulling out that smartphone, scrolling through, finding those space pictures, and figuring out whether or not that item you're looking at is going to work for you.
Pay attention to the shape of the item more so than the color of the item or the motif that might be found on the item. Oftentimes, those things can be easily changed up to make the decor piece work in your space.
Look for DIY decor items in unexpected areas. Make sure you also check out the toy aisle, the book section, the belts, the purses, the board games. You'd be amazed at the things you can find that you can easily change about and use in your home decorating.
For this next DIY, we're going to be making over this corbel that I found in the thrift store, and we're going to be giving it another faux stone look, but this time using a different technique. Although we will still be using that baking soda paint mixture that we made for the vase as the base for this faux stone technique. And I applied this all over the piece and then went in with some ash. Now this is ash that comes from our fireplace. It's just wood and paper. And I'm just going to sprinkle this all over the top of the baking soda mixture, and now I'm going to go in with a little bit of coffee granules, dried coffee granules, just like we did with the vase, and I'm just going to sprinkle this all over, pat it down into the baking soda mixture, adding a bit more where I need it to lighten up the color, or maybe to add a bit more of the ash. I also worked in a few pieces of charcoal to just really give it a worn faux stone look. I couldn't be happier with the way that this turned out. It looks fantastic, but I want to know what you think. Tell me in the comments below.
Visit often. They're constantly changing things up at the thrift store. So what I recommend doing is coming up with like a little circuit in an area where you can hit a bunch of different thrift stores at one time. Arrange a day where you know you're going to head out, hit up those thrift stores, check them all out in one go, and then head back again and do it again the following week. Also, if you're driving by, just pop on in. Quick little look, run around. You don't need to make every shopping expedition at the thrift store a prolonged event. Check out the art section, not just for the art, although sometimes you can find some really great pieces, but also looking at the frame. You can easily modify frames with white wax paint and some different distressed painting techniques that are guaranteed to transform even the ugliest frames into pieces of art.
Okay, out of all of these thrift store makeovers, this one is definitely the easiest of them all, but I just wanted to show you how you can take a basket, even if it's not the right color, but it happens to be the right shape or size. You can easily change that up so that this basket will work in your home decor. As always, start by giving that new thrift store piece a quick wipe down. Now this step is optional because it's hard on your baskets, but this was a cheap basket, so I'm not worried about it. I went in with a solution of bleach and water, and I gave it just a quick spray. This just helped lighten that real strong orange hue on the basket and made it easier to cover it with the white chalk paint. I wanted this basket to sort of have an aged, worn look to it, so I went with a very light hand with that white chalk paint, and I let some of that natural wicker that the bleach had shown through kind of pop through that paint, making it look like it had kind of been weathered. Now I made sure to paint the inside of the basket as well, because this basket is just going to be sitting at the bottom of our stairs. I'm going to be using it as a way to compile everything that needs to go upstairs, and I can just take it up in one trip. For that perfectionist touch, you might want to go in with a small paintbrush and just get those areas where the wicker meets in between the joints, because that is where the paint is going to wear out the slowest. And there you have it. That orange wicker color would never have worked in our home, but this off-white, slightly gray, worn, weathered look definitely does. Tell me what you think.
If you enjoyed those, make sure you subscribe, give me a thumbs up. If you hit the notification bell, it'll let you know the next time I upload. Oh, and you might enjoy these.